Yes, it's true. I dated Billy from Stranger Things. I realized it simply enough. My husband and kids were binge watching Stranger Things on Netflix to catch up before the release of Stranger Things Season 4, and I happened to wander past on my way to the kitchen. An audible gasp escaped my lips as there, in front of me, on this show, on the screen, was my ex-boyfriend. I dated him. I blurted it out, much to my husband's chagrin. I dated him. What did you say? That's him. Who? The guy I write about, the guy who inspired everything I'm doing now to make sure no one ever has an ex-boyfriend, and especially not a boyfriend like him. What are you talking about? My husband asked. That's Billy. This is Stranger Things. Season 4 is coming out soon. Then came the scene where Billy pulled up in the car, and it happened again. Gasp! The car! The fast sports car! His was a 1979 Camaro, but for me it was Corvettes. I was especially stuck on Corvettes. Something about a guy in a fast Corvette did it for me every time. Why? I don't know, except that maybe it had something to do with its image as a hot, fast car. And I, after all, was into that type of guy, a hot, fast guy. And you know what? I really thought that I could take a hot, fast guy and make him into a guy who would settle down with me and be my one and only hot, fast guy solely in love with me in a committed relationship. I really believed that if I could just be everything he'd ever wanted in a woman, he'd fall madly in love with me and give up his entire single life. And that's what I thought about every one of those types of guys that I was so attracted to. So there I was, watching Stranger Things from behind the couch my family was all sitting on. My jaw nearly hitting the ground. It was him. My head was spinning. The images of him, of his car, his look, his hair, his cocky stride. And that lifeguard scene? Yep. The older women all loved my Billy too. I dated him for 3 long years. It should have only been 3 months because that's all he had in him to give me of the good side of him until he started to pull away and prioritize his friends, his hobbies. And I took on the role of my life trying to make myself into everything that I thought I needed to be in order to get him to come back to be all in with me. I was on my way back to him on a long 5-hour flight from Vancouver to Toronto, where I kind of lived with him, but not really. I had just told the couple next to me about my reason for why I was sitting on a flight next to them, leaving balmy winter Vancouver for wind chill factor of 50 degrees below Toronto. For this guy, I told them all about, my Billy. They smiled. You want a ring on that finger, don't you? Of course I did. They couldn't understand how someone as sweet and as pretty as me couldn't get this guy to commit to her. I couldn't either. Yeah, I dated Billy all right. Down to the walk, the swagger, the muscles, and the smile. And of course, the cruelty. I'm sure he cheated on me, but I never allowed myself to go there at the time. No, I made sure to block that out of my mind completely for my own sanity. And then there was the night that he drove drunk in front of me when I tracked him down to the bar he was at after work instead of coming home to me. I followed him home, going back and forth on whether to call the cops on him. Well, of course I should have. But love makes you do crazy things. Well, it finally ended very badly one night. I committed the unpardonable sin. I spoke up. I said something. Finally, something was bad enough. I still didn't leave, but I said something. I'd regret it in the morning, and I'd try to turn back the clock and take it back. But it was too late. I told him I was so tired of staying there for him, so far from home, so far from all of my friends and my life. Unleashed, I went on and on until he stopped me with the words, I didn't ask you to stay. Go home if you don't like it. Every time I think about all of us and why we don't do anything different until we're forced to, I'm reminded of this. It has to get worse before it can get better. Now, if I had just figured out where the path would eventually take me, I could have avoided all the pain and heartbreak I experienced by being attracted to that type of guy. Because I hadn't yet figured out that it wasn't my place to change him in the first place. That wasn't my role. For some of us, it takes a long, long time to figure that part out. So take a little piece of advice from someone who's been there and rid yourself of any ideas that you can get a guy like this to change just by being all that. He's got so much history and baggage and a host of other things that he brings to the relationship by the time the two of you get together that there is no way he's going to change all that just because you're all that. And I'll let you in on a little secret too. He knows it. But he's got his own reasons for the way he is. And you getting into that is only going to make you crazy while he still remains his own commitment-phobic self. I know we want so badly to believe that we can make them change. We've all had Billies in our lives in one form or another, even the kinds who look exactly like this Billy. And it's time to realize that it's best just to leave them in Hawkins, Indiana, for our well-being, for our peace of mind, for our best interest, for our mental health, for our very survival. Because they don't change. It doesn't get any better. In fact, it usually gets much, much worse. Leave the Billies of the world. They don't deserve us.